Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. If you have been around for a while, or even if you are new, this episode is going to share with you something really tremendously important that I haven't talked about yet on the podcast. I don't even think I've created content on this yet on social media. So, y'all, this is going to be a real treat because I want to share with you how to build momentum in your business. And what's so interesting about this is, y'all, no matter how much you have studied human design, no matter how deep you are in your journey, sometimes hearing about something that you think you understand or that you have explored previously, but now are looking at it from a new perspective, your whole world will change. The way that you move forward will change. And this is an episode that's going to share with you something super important to be paying attention to consciously so you can create more momentum and do more things in your business that will create that prosperity that you desire. But first, I want to take a minute and just share a tremendous amount of gratitude that I feel for where I am right now in my life and in my business. And this is something we all, if you're in spiritual entrepreneurship, if you are in personal development, we all know the value of gratitude and how it helps raise your vibration. But the specific reason that I want to share on this episode is because I have come off a huge season of growth, of momentum, of expansion, and it has not been easy. And that's the truth of the matter, right? In entrepreneurship, there are seasons that are easier, there are seasons that are harder, and there's this ebb and flow throughout our journeys. And we often think when we're looking at what we should be grateful for or what we actually are grateful for, it always takes us to the like positive things, the things that are easy to figure out. And I want to share this with you. So perhaps if you are going through a hard season, that it will provide you the encouragement and maybe a different perspective on how you can be grateful for the season that might not feel as easy in the moment. But what I promise you is that it's going to make your future so much better. And so, in this season of expansion that I have just gone through, this huge season of rebranding and getting all of the sort of back end infrastructure of my business built out, going through a huge launch, so many things like really taking not only my business to the next level, but truly embodying the vision that I've always had in my business, the vision that I've had for myself in the next level of my business. On that journey, what was so powerful is the amount of help and support that I had from people that I have contracted in to help me with projects, for the team that I have hired to support from the family members and the friends that were just encouraging me and cheering me on along the way. And what was so interesting throughout this journey is, although I knew all of the things that were happening were good and were moving me forward in the direction that I truly desired, what I didn't feel in the moment or didn't recognize in the moment is that feeling of hard, of doing the work, of doing all of these things that sometimes felt overwhelming or sometimes felt like I couldn't like just pause and catch my breath. That is not the norm. And I couldn't have survived that season without all of the amazing people that supported me on the way. And I have loved the expansion. And this is truly part of what we are aspiring for as entrepreneurs, as spiritual entrepreneurs who want to bring our visions, our gifts to the world. And I want to remind you that in those seasons when it may feel like things aren't quite moving as quickly as you desire, you've got too many things moving quickly, really reflect on the people who are there supporting you and encouraging you along the way, because y'all, this is the magic. This is such a powerful part of helping bring what you desire into the world, is whether those are people in your business or outside of your business, any person that is helping you truly from an emotional perspective, from a strategic perspective, from a coaching perspective, from a like doing the behind the scenes work, and even the clients that are believing in you during that time. The people are something to be truly grateful for. And looking back on my season, I know that where I am today, I wouldn't have gotten without the people supporting me in all different areas of my life and business. So I send so much gratitude out to those people and just to the world for connecting me with these people in the ways that it had, because I know none of that was an accident. It was truly done with divine intention and in divine timing. And so now I want to dive into this episode because I really want to share with you about something that I was doing, but not even consciously, throughout my own season of expansion, throughout my own season of momentum. And it's so powerful. And this is the truth about anything in human design. When we understand our design at a conscious level, truly understand what is it that our profile means or our type means, or what does it mean that my environment is markets, or that I have this type of strategy and authority, whatever that looks like for you. We still have been designed to be this way, whether we consciously know about it or not. So we're going to operate that way. We're going to show up and be that way. And depending on your life circumstances or your beliefs or whatever may have happened throughout your life, you may or may not be in the highest expression of the different parts of your human design. And each part has sort of a high expression and a low expression. So a maybe more positive way that this is showing up in a more gift frequency, or things in your design might be showing up in a negative way, or in a way that is showing you the shadows that you need to work through in order to actually get to where you want to go. And in this episode, we're going to talk about something that I don't hear talked about a lot. And I actually think it's a really important piece of your human design that I want to make sure that you understand so you can start exploring it. And that is your conscious earth gate. So if you're looking at your human design chart, and if you don't happen to have one, charts look very different depending on where you pulled them from. If you would like an interactive human design chart, head over to my Instagram at I am Anna Nichols, and you can get the interactive human design chart that I have for free for you on my site, or you can look in the show notes. The link will be there also. But the conscious earth gate is the one on the right-hand side of, so you've got your body graph and you've got 2 rows of numbers. And on the right-hand side, it's the second one down, which is it's got a picture of a circle with sort of a cross through it. And it also is an important number within your incarnation cross. And our earth gates, they really symbolize grounding and what it means to take care of yourself. How are you connecting back into reality? How are you connecting back into what's happening around you? And it's important to know that there are both conscious earth gates and unconscious earth gates. But in this episode, we are going to talk about the conscious earth gate, because when I reflect back on this season of momentum, on this season of growth and expansion in my business, this is something I wasn't consciously paying attention to throughout that season, but it is something that I was still doing because it is such a fundamental part of who I am. And I was doing it, I'm honestly going to say, in a half-assed way. And that's something that I truly try to embody my human design in every way that I can. And in reality, we're still human beings and we're not perfect. But when I was recently sort of guided to looking at this part of my design, I was so blown away in seeing how this was impacting my life, and very specifically how it was leading me into the momentum, the expansion, the growth that I was previously experiencing and then also how it was going to support me in my continued growth and my continued momentum in business. And so let's break this down a little bit, because I want you to truly understand what this means and how to look at it and how to use this as you're looking into your business. So looking at the conscious earth gate or any part of your design, this is one that I have heard, right? It grounds you, and in my studies and all the things that I've researched and understand it really makes you feel like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do for myself. This is how I take care of myself, right? Earth is really about that sort of that grounded energy. And what's interesting is, depending on what your conscious earth gate, all of them have that sort of positive expression and that negative expression. And depending on where you're looking online, there are tons of amazing human design libraries. I have tons of books on these things. And I really do encourage you to go look at multiple different libraries, because they will give different perspective, a different flavor, and it will help you see things potentially in a different way, so that when you're looking at it, it's going to give you the clarity that you need to move forward and build momentum in your business. So my gate is gate 54. And on the actual body graph, when you're looking at the two columns of numbers, it's 54.5, because I am a 5-2. And the line number does give you a different flavor. It really is like, how are you showing up in that gate? It gives you a little bit more information, but I want to focus on the numbers 1 through 64 on the front end of that decimal point, for you to start to explore, what does this number mean? And really, here's what's important. We want to be looking at this number when we are sometimes feeling stuck or stagnant. Sometimes it's when we are feeling resistance to something in our business. You could also be, I would really encourage you to look at it maybe when you are feeling like you're not moving as quickly as you're wanting to move. And whatever the reason is that you might not be in the momentum that you desire, looking at this gate is going to give you a lot of clarity. So my gate 54 is the gate of ambition. And it's really interesting because I'm like, oh, duh, I've always been an ambitious person. Like, this is just part of who I am. Like, I really honestly overlooked it for a really long period of time. And this is why I tell you to go explore different libraries online, read different books about it, because the way that one will interpret it will look different than another person's interpretation. And they all have sort of the same through message, but depending on their unique experiences, depending on their design and how they've experienced things, it'll give you a different perspective. And recently, I had found a new book. I love all the books that human design can share, and I have read about this gate online a lot. And what I was reading about in this gate 54 as my conscious earth, is truly allowing myself to be as ambitious as I desire. And I thought that was really fascinating, because I've always been very highly ambitious. And if you're listening to this podcast, you might be the same, in that you may or may not have gate 54 activated in your chart, but that sort of desire to be ambitious, to have a better life, create a better life, to really create something more than I have, to be really good at what I'm doing, to truly be in that ambitious energy. That has been part of my entire life and identity. So you can see how it would have been really easy to just sort of like dismiss that. Looking back on this journey that I've been going on through expanding my business and all of these things, I can see that months ago, when I created the truly written business plan, the aligned business blueprint for what became the Spiritual Business Incubator, which is my business brand and all of the things, the vision that I have going forward. An interesting moment happened there, where I decided that the thing that I thought I wanted to create enough or I mean, not even decided, it's like I awoke to it, to recognizing that the thing I thought I was creating before I went through this whole expansion process, I was still playing small. I was still looking around, seeing what other people were doing and modeling things that I was doing in the online world or even in the business world against other people, like really looking at what are they doing? How can I do things their way? And I knew through human design that we were all meant to do things differently. And that was also a season where I was shedding old identities and shedding like things in my life that were no longer serving me. But there was this moment, and this was about like March, April of 2024. So depending on when you're listening to this, I'm recording this in September after having gone through very fast growth momentum expansion over the last 6 months. And that moment when I realized that I was not actually living up to my ambition, I was not actually even working towards my ambition, I wasn't even allowing myself to be as ambitious as I desired, at least not publicly and even internally, because I had a lot of fears, I had a lot of limiting beliefs around that. And I was worried it was going to take a lot of work, or that it would pull me away from my family more, or that what if I failed, or even what if I succeeded, or what would people think about me if I truly put out what I wanted to put out. And what was so interesting this 6 or so months ago is it was something that, because this still is who I am, that is part of my design, whether you are sitting there and every moment reading about yourself or have memorized everything about your chart, like things are happening even if you don't know about them. And for me, what ended up happening is I allowed myself to have that big vision, even just in the safety of my journal. That's where it all started. And then that created the momentum for me to create this next version business plan that gave me then the momentum and the energy to take the steps to hire the support people, to like travel to the events. And y'all, like I've been traveling for the last 6 months or so, 4 hours to Denver. I live in Western Colorado, and it's a trek to get out there, but there were things happening there that I knew I wanted to plug into. There were people that inspired me. There was so much happening there that I started to let myself explore what it would look like to be that ambitious. And I share this story with you because back then, when I didn't even know it, I was living it. I was right. That is a part of my design that was happening. So, my first encouragement to you after you go read about your conscious earth gate is to reflect on how has this happened for you in your life before, because that is something, when it comes to business, when it comes to life, you will come back to this more and more than you even imagine, because it is just naturally part of who you are. Then recently, in the last month or so, as I have been encouraged to go look at certain parts of my design and really called to more deeply explore my conscious earth or my earth signs, like because of having gone through this huge amount of growth and all of these things in the last few months, I was like, okay, how do I ground back? How do I settle, right? How do I let the dust settle after all of this like amazing stuff that's happened so that I can then continue moving forward? And when I read my conscious earth gate from this perspective of, okay, I'm here, it literally was meant encouraging myself to be like, how do I like simmer down, and how do I, it's that old patterning of like, okay, how do I take it easy? How do I do this? And then reading about my earth gate and seeing that desire for ambition, that natural tendency to want to go for something bigger, to have this big dream, to support other people on their dreams, like all of that just became so clear, on repeat in my whole life, in jobs, in my family, in my friendships, like how much I have always been this person for myself, encouraging others who were ambitious to chase their dreams and to take the action aligned with that. And so I thought it was really funny that I was going back to this earth gate with the kind of understanding or thinking that it's grounding for me to slow down, when actually every time I fully embodied that, not even knowingly prior to this, it has led to a huge moment of growth, momentum, expansion, and all of that. And so, what I want you to do as you are like listening to this episode and trying to figure out how does your conscious earth gate play into your design, into your business, really take that moment to read about it. And first, maybe just be in awe. Maybe read a couple of different places online. You can just Google conscious earth gate with your whatever your number is, and then type in the words human design and go read a few of them. And when you are thinking about in your life, like it'll be like one of those montages or flashbacks, I would at least hope, because that's how it was for me, of all of these moments when this has happened for you. Then this is the moment where we just pause to reflect for a minute, because we realize that doing this for ourselves is actually what leads not only us to have momentum in our lives, but it allows us to support others in pursuing whatever their unique dreams, goals, vision looks like. And whether that is you're doing it through your business, or whether that is doing it through in your life, in your community, in your family, you will see those trends. And then now, when we're reflecting, how do you start to be more intentional, right? This is your conscious earth gate. So you are aware of this. Like looking back on all of the times that I have been ambitious in my life, like I'm like, all right, tell me something new. I already know this about myself. But before, it was just something that I knew about myself, I dismissed, I didn't think about. Going forward, as you are trying to build that momentum in your business, be intentional of how you are aligning whatever your gate stands for with the future direction that you have, the future vision that you have for your business. Because for me, what I realized months ago is that when I was playing small, when I was trying to fit in and do things the way that people around me had been doing them, I I felt small, and I felt like I was not living up to what I truly envisioned for my life and truly envisioned for my business. And it'll be a whole nother episode when we talk about why I think I was doing that. But for so many of us, we want to fit in. We want to be respected and seen as someone of integrity, at least if you're listening to this episode, right? You want to serve people well. You want to like be part of a community that has shared values. And for me, making this decision that I desired something bigger than I was envisioning at the moment, and that it was my fear that it was holding me back from truly stepping into that, truly allowing myself to even dream of it. That's where I allowed myself to then say, okay, let's just write about this in a journal. Let's get this idea out there. And then I won't be like thinking about it anymore. And we'll see where we'll go from there. And so doing that action of allowing myself to dream up based on my conscious earth gate, what the future of my business could look like, truly look like, in the most ambitious way that I could imagine, which y'all, like, there's many iterations of business planning that will happen between now and the end of that, right? This is a 20-year, what does this really look like kind of vision. I knew that when I wrote it out, allowed myself to just be in that energy, the next steps started to become so much more clear. And this is why I talk about business planning all the time, and whatever words you want to use for it, right? Like the writing down process of where you want to go is so critically important. But I encourage you to infuse this conscious earth gate into it, and doing this for yourself, not doing this for in service of your clients, not doing this in service of someone outside of you, your family, or expectations outside of you, but really looking at how do I embody this conscious earth gate, this energy, because that is something that's going to make you feel really good and thus give you the energy, no matter what your human design type is, to take action, to move forward. It literally, back a few months ago, before I like really was understanding of this, once I wrote out that ambitious next level version of the business, it's like the universe was moving my body and bringing people into my awareness, or building relationships, or all of these things. It was lining up for me to start. Here's the things. This is what you're desiring. This is what you're wanting. Here's the people who can help you. Here are the things that you need along the way. And it was up to me to put, whether it was push aside that fear, work through that fear, alchemize that fear, in order to then take those actions. And knowing my strategy and authority, that helped tremendously, because sometimes my body was telling me to do something, right? My sacral was like, go this one, do it now. When my brain was like, what are you thinking? That's crazy. And I share this with you because I know that feeling of feeling stuck, of feeling stagnant, of feeling the resistance, of feeling like you're moving too slow. And what the whole point of this is that you will be infused with energy because you've grounded into something that allows you to be who you truly are, and level of energy that then helps fuel you to get to the next thing, to accomplish the next task, to really see the next steps on your vision. Because when I wrote out that aligned business blueprint, that business plan for myself months ago, that was something that I did without, I wasn't thinking immediate next steps. I was thinking my next level vision of the business. And then it was like pretty instantly things started to show up. That's where the strategic planning component of this come together, right? After I allowed myself to envision that like next level ambitious vision, the next steps started to become more and more clear, because I had a vision that was truly inspiring me. And whether it inspired other people or not, like I didn't care. It was like I knew that this is something that would make my soul happy, so much so that as a generator, I could feel my body moving me towards certain decisions, certain actions. I couldn't ignore the synchronicities and the signs of like all of these people, these friendships that I had made, back to my original gratitude, friends that I have built relationships with, people that I've met in the online space over the last 2.5 years of my entrepreneurial career, that they had either the right skill set, they knew who to connect me with, they could support me in different ways along that journey. And I remember just having this thought of, it's no accident that all of this is happening. And obviously, this was the right divine timing for it all to come together. And so, where I want to sort of end this episode, and I want you to think about this as you are moving forward in your business, is that I did that. And so many of us are doing that, where we are unaware of what we're doing, or how certain things that we do, or certain parts of ourselves, impact our ability to achieve what we want next, or what we are trying to create, or to move us out of this space of not getting where we're wanting to go as quickly as possible, or as smoothly as possible, or as in as much alignment. And I would truly encourage you to look at your conscious earth gate, and to look at it for yourself, not from the outside perspective, but truly like, how am I doing this for me? How does doing this make me feel good? And read about it in all of the different places that you would like to read about it. Feel free to send me a DM. I'm happy always to talk about it. This is something I love to talk about, is anything human design, actually. But reflect back So the step one is read about your conscious earth gate. Step two is to reflect back and see how this has shown up in your life. And it will be that clear for you once you really allow yourself to see it. Write out a list if that helps you, but really just be like, oh, here's a place that I was in alignment with this. And it's like you can feel the momentum, the energy that was happening in that season. And then take a moment to just pause and reflect and think about, how could this support me, propel me in my future business vision? How could I look at my business from this lens, from my conscious earth lens, and see if it is currently in alignment or if something needs to change? For me, that was realizing that the vision that I had painted was not the truly ambitious one that I had in my heart. And that allowing myself to do that, taking then the steps to do that. So then allowing yourself to look at the future from the lens of your conscious earth, looking at your business from that lens will really help you to do that. Do whatever it is that you will help you feel more in alignment. And I think we're at step 4 with this one already. Number 1 is to read about your conscious earth. Number 2 is to reflect back in your life. How has this shown up in different ways? Imagine that. Think about the sort of energy that you were feeling in that moment. Number 3 is to pause and reflect, like, how could this? Let your mind wander a little bit. Let the divine, God, the universe bring ideas into you. And then number 4 would be to write it down. I'm going to continue to encourage you to write it down, however that looks, in your journal, in a business plan format, on a napkin in a bar, if that's where you're at when you're listening to this, or a coffee shop. But writing it down is such a powerful thing, because then what happens is that you keep moving forward, but now you have new energy brought into you. You have new clarity of what the future could look like, and it's fueled by a whole different level of energy that you may or may not have felt in your business before, but I'm certain you have felt in your life before. And so if this is something you want to talk more about, like I said, my DMs are open. Connect with me. I'd love talking about this. But go through these steps, explore your conscious earth, and do it for yourself. Do it because you know that you have this vision in your life, you have this vision for your business, and that you would not have that vision if it wasn't meant for you. That's one of the most encouraging things I've ever heard in my whole human design journey and my spiritual journey, is that you have this dream, this vision, this calling on your heart because it is meant for you. And the work that I do with people and helping them understand their human design and applying it to business is that we want to take those gifts, those skills, that vision of supporting people and making the world a better place, and we want to turn it into profitable and joyful businesses. And there's many parts of our design that can support us along the way. But this is one that very recently in my life, I realized how profoundly it has supported me and encouraged me and propelled me forward. And now, as I am more and more aware of this, the best part is, and the more aware that you are of this, is you get to do it with intention. Now I am creating a special time and moment as part of my business planning process to allow myself to reconnect with this, especially as I move forward into the next season. And as I continue evolving as an entrepreneur, as my business continues evolving and growing in how it supports people, because I'm allowing myself to do it in a way that is truly aligned for me. And so with that, my friends, I hope that you took a lot of value out of this episode. It is something that truly, I wish I knew this sooner in my life, in my business, and now seeing it from this perspective allows me to be so much more intentional with how I move forward. So until next time, my friends, cheers to your success.